Hi everyone, Janie here. Welcome back to my garden. It feels like we're getting a late start today, even though we're not. Jason and I, we woke up at our usual time, which, crazy to say, it's 5 a.m. We usually get up at 5 a.m. so that we can get out of the house by 6 and working before it gets too hot. And that's just our schedule during the summer. It works really well because it gets so hot here. Nobody wants to be out working in the afternoon. Morning is definitely the time to work. But this morning we got up and we were drinking our coffee, first cup of coffee, and it was pitch black and it just stayed dark for so long. It just felt like the sun woke up so late this morning, and it's just really, really incredible how much the days, how quickly the days change this time of year. So I think we're going to be able to start waking up at 6 a.m., which, yay, cheers to that. So anyway, we finally got out here. The sun is finally starting to come up, and we're going to start our day. So my plan for today is to work back here by the metal workshop. This is our metal workshop where we store all of our gardening stuff. This is our carport area that ever since we moved into this house, this has just been like our storage area. And we all have storage areas like that. You know, at my last house, it was on, it was in our side yard. This just happens to be right here in our carport area. And we're consistently trying to clean it up and try and figure out how to make it work for us. Now, we've been here for 2 years, almost 2 years exactly. And I feel like we're finally starting to realize what we need, what type of storage we need, how we need to kind of plan things so that this property works really well for us. And I think it just takes that long to figure out how piece of property is going to work for you. You can't just decide like, okay, this is where everything's going to go, because if that just doesn't work for your life, then that doesn't work for your life. So anyway, the reason why I'm telling you all this is one of the things I want to do today is I want to do something with all these plants that I have. I have the lovely opportunity to work with Proven Winners, and they give me lots and lots of plants to trial in my garden. And there's just a lot of times that there's a lot of plants sitting there waiting to be planted, waiting to figure out what to do. Sometimes they're just extra plants that I didn't even end up needing. And I always think that I'm going to plant all the plants and then this pile is going to be gone. And I'll eventually get through this pile. However, every single time I end up getting another shipment of plants before I work my way through the pile of plants. I know, what a problem to have, right? I'm so spoiled, but I've just realized that I really need to do something. It needs to move from right in front of our cars right there. And I feel like the best place to store plants is over here on the left side of my metal workshop. We have this little open space right here that again is just kind of another junky storage area, and I really want to start using it for a more functional, rather than just putting old wood and old gravel and pots and stuff back here. So the other day I actually took down a bench that was on my trial raised bed in my front garden, and I have all this really nice wood. I think it's redwood. Yes, there is some of it that's rotted, but I've thrown most of that stuff away. But I still have some really good wood boards here, and my thought is instead of tossing this and throwing it in the landfill, I want to see if I can kind of reuse it, do a little bit of woodworking, and make myself a table, a garden table, that I can put all of those plants on and put it over there. You can see I have a pallet there and pallet wood, and there's actually a feed store down the road that has a whole bunch of free pallets if I need more wood. So my goal is to do this for free, right? Not spend any money, and just use all this scrap wood to make a big table that can go back here. We can hook it up to drip, and we can have all of our extra plants on it. I do have some hardware cloth back here, and I do have some chicken wire that I kind of think I might use. So just a whole bunch of, I mean, I don't want to call it junk, but it's kind of junk that I want to mess around with today. Now, I have been looking around on the internet trying to find plans and trying to figure out exactly how I'm going to do it, like the right way. And I did Garden Answer, Lauren and Aaron have a fabulous video. If you want like a real video of how to make these garden tables, they did a great job like 5 years ago or something like that. I was watching that, and then I was looking at some other ones where instead of using, I think they used hardware cloth on theirs. Instead of using those, they just used pallets for strips of wood. So I kind of, instead of like going by a plan or anything, just because I'm using scrap wood, I'm kind of just going to play around with it and see what I can make with the wood that I have. And whatever I end up with is what I end up with. I do have legs over here. I have these pieces of wood. These pieces of wood are about 4 feet long, and they are the scrap ends from the posts over on my raised beds when we hung our solar lights. Let me show you. These posts, they came in really, really long lengths. I think they were 16 feet long or something like that. And I cut 4 feet off of each one of them. So I have scrap wood pieces in 4 foot lengths. So I thought that that would be absolutely perfect for legs for this garden table. So anyway, that is my plan, is just to kind of do some woodworking, mess around a little bit, and see what I can make out of this scrap wood, and see if I can kind of clean this area up a little bit. Okay, so this is where I'm at so far. I think I have my frame going. I did want it to be 4 feet wide, but I didn't have enough wood for that. So they ended up being, it ended up being 3 feet wide, which I think is perfectly fine. There are still some screws in here that were so completely stripped, there's just no way I'm getting them out. So I think I'm gonna have to cut those off. But otherwise, I think it's pretty good. I've got 2x4s in the middle for bracing. And then I think these are 2x6s around the edges. I had 3 big pieces of 2x6s. And then I think what I'm going to do is I have a couple more strips of 2x4. I think I'm going to brace them like that, just to give it even a little bit more support. I think that that will definitely help. So I think what I'll do is I'll start screwing the wood in. Now, I am a little worried because this piece of wood is definitely not straight. So it looks like I cut this board too short, but it's not too short. So I'm really gonna, maybe I'll have Jason come over here and help me and try and kind of like muscle the wood into place while I screw it in. So, but I'm happy with what I got so far. I mean, at least I was able to salvage out of that wheelbarrow. I was able to salvage this, which I think it's great. Better than getting rid of it and it going in the dump or somewhere. You see how this piece is warped?
Yeah.
I need to like manhandle it into place while I...
You want to just hold it down?
Yeah. Yeah, so just do your best just to keep it, get it as close as possible. Ready? Okay.
That's worked.
Yeah, it's great. Thanks. All right, everyone, it is a couple hours later, and per usual, these woodworking projects, I don't time them correctly. I don't really realize how long it's going to take me to do the project. And so this ended up taking me about 3 times as long that I planned for. So it's already past noon. I'm starving. I'm ready for lunch, but I wanted to show you guys what I got done so far. I should have stopped and showed you guys a little, update as I went, but I just got into it. So let me show you what I have done so far. Okay, so here's the table. You can see it. I've got the frame there. This was the wood from the bench at the trial garden bed. And then I have my legs. I decided it didn't need a brace because I ended up putting 6 legs on and not 4 legs. And I think that is plenty of support for it. And then I was going back and forth on whether to use hardware cloth, like strips of hardware cloth, or I had all these little pieces of wood from a broken down pallet. And I thought I might as well use this wood because I could use the hardware cloth with other things, or the chicken wire with other things, but I had absolutely no use for this wood. So I decided to see if I could make it work. And I'm pretty happy with how it is working. So I just used an extra piece of it to kind of separate it so it looked a little bit neater. And then I did try and use my nail gun, but that didn't really work. I have the wrong nails. And so like I said, I didn't want to spend, see, I got 1 nail gun in there. I didn't want to spend any more money, so I just used some extra screws that I had. So it ended up being pretty easy. I would love to paint this, like stain it all black. I think it would look so much nicer, cover up everything if I just painted it black, but I just don't have time for that today, unfortunately, but that's okay. The last thing I do want to do, though, is I do want to take my circular saw and come through and cut off all these extra pieces right there. I think that'll clean it up a lot. And with all these extra slats, I think it's plenty strong enough to be able to handle plants that are going to be going on it. And then, of course, with the slats, the spaces in it, it's going to drain the water, all the stuff that it needs to do. So all in all, I think that this is great, especially because all of this wood was going to end up in the landfill if I didn't find some use for it. So I think I'm pretty happy with it. It could be better. I could do a little bit better job. It could look a little bit neater, but at least for what it is, I think it works. I forgot to record that. I had the camera all set up, but I forgot to press record. But doesn't that look nice? Okay, let me record the other side for sure. Okay, and there it is in all its glory. Isn't it just gorgeous? So beautiful. So I do think a nice coat of paint is going to make a huge difference on this. It's scrap wood. It's 3 different types of wood. It looks all pieced together right now. But if I just get some good paint on it, I think it'll make a huge difference. There's a YouTube channel that I like watching that is really inspiring. And I can't remember what her name is right now, but her channel name is White Cottage Company. If you guys have never watched her channel, it's really, really neat. She will have fence posts, picket fences, and she'll make something incredible out of it. And she'll actually go to thrift stores and Goodwill, and she'll get something and she'll figure out how to make it really, really beautiful, something beautiful. And she usually finishes it off with a coat of paint. And so that's why I think this will look a lot better. She's very inspiring. If you haven't watched her channel, you definitely should. So anyway, I'm glad I got this done. I was really planning on it to take an hour, maybe 2 at tops. Here we are 5 hours later and I'm not even done. So that's okay. That's totally fine. I will just finish more another day. I probably won't film it for you guys because you guys probably don't need to watch me painting. But anyway, this is finished and hopefully I can get my plants moved over. I can get this over there. Jason is inside. Football season has started. So he's inside before the first game. So we're on the West Coast, so our games don't start till later in the morning. So he can work in the morning, and then he can go watch football on it's Sunday, of course. So anyway, I am going to go inside and I'm going to eat lunch. I hope you all enjoyed this, and I hope you all have a chance to get in your garden today.